So in today's lecture, we will cover about the relational algebra and how can we write queries using the relational algebra. So that will be our today's topic. Relational query language is a query language that allows the manipulation and retrieval of data from the database. So relational model supports simple and powerful query languages. A strong formal foundation is there because it is based upon mathematical concepts and allow for optimization. That means you can optimize to solve one query. There are different ways and you can optimize it into different using different techniques. So optimization option is also there. So query languages are not the programming languages. So this is one of the key points that you must understand. For example, SQL structured query language is also a language, but it is not a programming language. So what is the difference between programming language and query language is that query language is generally termed as fourth generation language. Fourth generation language means you just tell the system what is required and how it will be retrieved. That is up to the system. So you don't tell the system how to retrieve the data, but you tell the system what is required. But in the case of programming languages, you have to create a program. Program means set of instruction, that is step by step instruction that is based upon some algorithm, and you have to tell the system about those steps to retrieve that particular data. So C language, C++, Java, all these are the programming languages. And one of the other differences is that programming languages, after compilation, they will convert into some executable files. But there is no compilation of the query language, and after executing the query instruction of query language, you will get the result. You will get the data as a result of that execution. So programming language produce exe file. They are standalone program that can be executable on any machine, but query language does not produce any executable file, but they can be used to retrieve the data from the database. So this is the difference between a query language and programming language. So you must be clear that query languages are not the programming language. So SQL is not any programming language. So in programming language, we have construct like a looping statement or decision making statement, but there is no such kind of statement in the query languages. So query language, the pure purpose of query language is only to retrieve the data from the database. Then two formal query languages are available in a relational database management system. One is called relational algebra. Another one is called relational calculus. Algebra means it is a simple operational model that is useful for expressing the execution plan. Whereas calculus is logical model. It is declarative type and useful for the theoretical result. The purpose of calculus is only to prove theoretically that some results may appear some that the logic of execution is correct or not. So it is just for proving purpose, relational calculus. But algebra, it is the operational model and it is useful for expressing the execution plan. So if you have to tell the steps, okay, we have to extract the data from this table by using this particular command, then you have to use the algebra. Otherwise you can use calculus. So we are focusing on algebra here only because if you understand algebra, then you can understand the queries also that we will cover in section B. So both languages are introduced by the scientist Cod in a series of papers. There are a lot of papers that published by scientist Cod, and all the operations are not presented in a single paper. It is a series of paper where he introduced different operations in different papers, and they have equivalent expressive power. That means whatever the query that you can express using algebra, the same query can be expressed using calculus also. That means any calculus query can be converted into algebra query, or any algebra query can be converted into calculus query. They have equivalent expressive power, and they are the key understanding for SQL query processing. So if you want to understand the query processing of structured query language SQL, which is vastly used in almost all of the operating system, all of the relational database management system to retrieve the data, then you must understand either algebra or calculus. Then query is basically applied to relation instance. So these are the things that you must keep in mind before starting, that every query is applied to relation instance. Relation instance here means a table, and the result of query is also a relation instance. That means after executing a query, you will again get a new table. So schema of relations are fixed. Schema of any relation that are involved in query, they are fixed, and the query will then execute over any valid instance. So any valid instance means the instance of a relation at any particular time. The query can be executed over any instance of that particular schema, and the schema of the result can also be determined. So if the schema of input table is known, then you can also find out the schema of the result table. So this is example database that we are going to cover. Based upon these data tables, we are going to understand the relational queries. So we have a scenario where we have a database of boats, database about sailors, and the table about the reservation. So R1 is a table that represent the reservation. S1 and S2 are the tables that contain the information about the sailors, like sailor ID, sailor name, rating of the sailor, and age of the sailor. Similarly, B1 is a table that contains the information about boat. So it has two columns, boat ID and the color of the boat. And R1 is basically the relationship between S1 and B1, that which sailor boat is reserved for what day. So it contains three fields: SID, BID, and day. So SID is a foreign key, which is a basically primary key of sailor table. BID is a foreign key, which is again a primary key of boat table, and day is the day that belongs to relationship R1. That attribute belong to relationship R1. So we have three different kind of table here. S1 and S2 are same kind. So they both have same number of fields, same number of data, but data is different. Same number of attributes. Attribute names are also same. So S1, S2, they are almost same tables. R1 and B1. So totally we have three tables in this particular case. So these tables represents boats, sailors, and reservation. Then coming to core relational algebra. In the core algebra, we have five kind of operators. One is selection, second one is projection, third one is renaming, fourth is set theoretic operation, fifth one is products and joins, which is a widely used operation, products and joins. The very first is selection. Sometimes we need to select some rows. So it will select the subset of rows. If we apply the selection operation on a table, then we will get a subset of rows. Similarly, sometimes we need the information from the column. So we will use the projection operation. So projection operation, we can pick some certain column from the given column. Third operation is renaming. Renaming means sometimes we want to rename the column name or the table name. So if we want to perform the renaming operation, then we will use the rename operation. Then after that we have set operations. Set operations are operations that derived from mathematical set theory. So it includes union, intersection, difference, division, Cartesian products, and finally we have products and joins. So we will cover all these things one by one. So starting from the select operation, so it is a unary operator. First of all, it is a unary operator. Unary operator means it will work on only single table. So the operand is only one. So unary means one. So selection operation is a unary operation, and it selects the rows that satisfy some condition. So how will you write this condition? The general syntax is sigma. Sigma is a symbol to represent the row. Sigma is a symbol to represent the select operation. So it is Greek symbol sigma, and at the bottom which you can see a C, small c. C stands for condition. So C is a condition that involves the attributes of R2. So that condition involves the attribute of R2. R2 is the name of the relation. R2 is the name of the relation here. So C is a condition that involves the attribute of R2. The general syntax of condition is attribute name. Then we can apply some operator. Then again attribute name. This is OR symbol or constant. So either on the left hand side you can have only attribute name, but on the right hand side of the operator, either you can have some attribute name or you can have a constant. So example of this particular operation is like this one: sigma rating is more than 8 S2. Now here S2 is a name of relation that we have already seen in the previous slide. So this is S2. So S2 is a name of operation having 4 column: SID, SNAME, rating and age. So I can apply condition based upon all these 4 columns. So these are the column from the S2 table. So as it is described here, C is a condition involving the attributes of R2. So only the attribute of R2 can be there in a C. So C is a condition that can work on the attribute of the relation that we are mentioning in the parentheses. So here I am mentioning S2 in the parentheses. That means the rating, which is basically the attribute of S2. I can apply any condition on this particular attribute. I can write rating operator here is more than. So it is an operator and 8 is my constant value. So here I am comparing attribute with some constant value using more than operator. So I am writing select. So this whole line will read as select rating, select from S2 where rating is more than 8. So it will select only those rows where the rating is more than 8. So as a result, again we are getting a table. So result of this operation is again a table. So that is called R1. So R1, I am giving the name to this particular table R1, and it will contain only those rows which satisfy the condition. Now condition here is that rating should be more than 8, and you can see these two rows has a rating more than 8. And if you see the original table, you can see this is not more than 8, this is also not more than 8. So first two rows will be removed from the result and only final two rows will be there. Select operation, the general syntax is sigma followed by condition. In the bracket you have to mention a relation. So only one relation can be used here because it is a unary operator, and sigma CR2. So result is again a relation. So what about the operators? You can apply number of operators that are possible, that are more than, less than, more than equal to, less than equal to, not equal to, and equal to. So these are the 6 kind of operator that can be used at this particular place. Operator. So operator can be of 6 kind. At the left side of operator we can have attribute name. At the right side of operator we can have attribute name as well as constant, either attribute name or we can have a constant here. The schema of the result is exactly the same as the schema of input relation. As you can see, the schema of result is exactly same. Schema means number of columns and the name. So whatever the column name, whatever the number of column, everything is same as that of the input relation. And there is no duplicates in the resulting operation. If there is a duplicate as a result of this particular operation, all the duplicates will be removed, and resulting relation instance can be used as the input for another relational algebra operator. For example, the result of this particular one operation, sigma rating is more than 8 S2, because this result is also a relation. So that relation can be used for in further operation. So I can apply further selection operation on this particular relation R1. I can write sigma S name is equal to Julia. So from R1 I can select only those rows which contain S name as Julia. Resulting relation instance can also be used as the input for another relational algebra operator. Then second is your operation, the projection. So projection is deletes all the fields that are not in the projection list. So if you want to restrict your result, if you want to restrict your table based upon some specific column, so you want to some specific column, you want to select some specific column from the table, then you can use the projection operation. So projection operation is written with the help of a pi. So pi stands for projection, followed by the list of attribute. Here A stands for attribute. So A is basically a list of attribute from the schema R2. So whatever the table you are mentioning here, you can specify a list of attributes from that particular table. For example, if I write pi s name comma rating, so this is basically a list. So I am selecting only two column, s name and rating, from table s2. So s2 is the name of table, and I am selecting only two column, s name and rating. So it will result into a relation, new relation, that is that have only two column, one is s name, another one is rating, and the and this relation will be known as R1. What will be the number of column in selection operation? As a result of selection operation, how many columns will be there? Select operation is for selecting the rows. We are filtering the row. It is basically a filtration operation that will filter the rows. So we are removing the rows. We are selecting only those rows which are following some condition, which are fulfilling the condition. So that means total number of column will not be affected by the selection operation. So it will be same as the number of column of the table that is involved in the operation. So here S2 is a table that is involved in the operation, and S2 contains 4 columns. So the answer of selection operation will be 4 column. And what about the number of rows? In selection operation, how many number of rows, minimum and maximum both? What will be the minimum number of rows that are possible in selection operation? Minimum number of rows depends upon the condition. If none of the rows satisfy the condition, then we will get a 0 row as a result. So we will not get any row as a result in the selection operation. And what will be the maximum number, maximum possible number of rows as a result of selection operation? If there are n rows, then the possibility will be n or less. If there are duplicate in the table, then the duplicate will be removed. That means we will have n minus some value. So we are less than n number of rows in the resulting table. If there are no duplicates, then we will get all the rows in the as a result of selection operation. So as a result of selection operation, one thing is clear: total number of column will remain same. Total number of rows, minimum we can have 0 row, maximum we can have n rows or less than n rows. So it depends if there is duplicacy or not. So that is about selection operation. Now coming to the projection operation. So projection is we are selecting the columns. So what will be the effect of projection operation on the total number of columns? So if in the original table we have n columns, then what will be the total possible number of columns in the resulting table? So if you write 0 column in a list, you will get nothing. If you write 3 column, then you will get the 3 column. If you write all the columns, then you will get all the columns as a result. All the rows or the total number of rows will be there uh, depending upon the duplicacy. If duplicacy is there, duplicacy will be removed. Otherwise, whatever the total number of rows in a original table, all the rows will be selected in. So there is no. So in projection operation, we can have same number of column or less, depending upon the number of column that we have mentioned in a list of attributes. But on the there is no effect on the rows in case of projection operation, but except duplicacy will be removed. So projection operation has to eliminate the duplicates, but that is theoretical. But practically, real system don't normally perform the duplicate elimination unless the user explicitly asks for it. So if you want to remove the duplicacy, then you have to tell the system that you want the duplicacy removed. Otherwise, by default, system will not remove duplicate elements automatically. So we covered two operations. One is selection, another one is projection. Selection is for selecting the rows, projection is for selecting the columns. So both are filter operation, both are unary operator. Unary operator means both applies on a single table, single relation. So sigma is a notation for selection, pi is a notation for projection. So we specify the condition in case of sigma, we specify the attribute list in case of projection. Then third operation is renaming. Renaming, sometimes we want to convert the name, we want to change the name of the column or name of the table. Then we can use renaming operation. So it is denoted by row, symbol row, RHO. So this symbol is called row. In the condition, we write the original name equal to final name. So we are the A correspond to the name that we want to change and B correspond to the name that we want to change. So A here is our original name, B is our new name. So we can change the name of attribute A with the name B in relation R2, and the resulting relation can be called R1. So it returns a relation, as I have earlier discussed, that every result of every operation, algebraic operation, that will be again a table. So here we will get a table. It is identical to R2 because we are changing nothing. We are just renaming the column name. We are just renaming the any column name, but we are not changing its domain. We are not changing its arity. We are not going to change its column. Number of column will remain same. Number of rows will remain same. Uh, Constraint will remain same. Everything will remain same. So here is example: s name equal to norm. So equal to is not direct equal to, it is colon equal to. So colon equal to basically renaming operation. So in the original table, s name column will be converted into norm column. Then we have set operations. In the set operations, we have union, intersection, subtraction. So there is a restriction on their input relation instance that they must be union compatible. This is again very important concept. To apply any of the operator which belongs to set theory, the operand must be union compatible. So it is, all these operators are binary operator. Binary operator means they need two tables, two relations to act. So union is a binary operator, intersection is a binary operator, subtraction is a binary operator. So these operator will work only if the input relations are union compatible. Union compatibility means if these two conditions are satisfied, then we say that the tables are union compatible. The very first condition is that they should have same number of fields. They should have same number of fields. So if table 1 has 4 fields, table 2 also must have 4 number of fields, and that means they have same degree. Degree means total number of column in a table should be same, and then same field names and domains should also be same. Name of the field, name of the column should also be same, and domain of the column means their value, the possible value should also be same. So here s1 and s2 both have same number of field. S1 is your table that is containing the information about sailor. S2 is also a table that contains the information about the sailor. Both have same number of field, both have 4 columns, and both have same field name also, and their domain is also same. So that's why we can say that S1 and S2 are union compatible, but S1 and R1 are not union compatible. So R1 is a table about the reservation. So it tells us about the reservation. So SID, R1 contains the column SID, BID and date. And BID and date are not in table S1. They are not available in table S1. So we can say that they have not the same number of field, and their field name and their domains are also not same. So these two tables are not union compatible. So we cannot apply the union operator on S1 and R1, but we can apply the union operator on S1 and S2. So these two are union compatible. So for set operation to apply, the table, the input table must be union compatible. If they are not union compatible, we cannot apply the operation. Now coming to the operation itself, relation R and S, we are considering Okay, I got one question from Sagar. What are domains? Okay, domains are the possible set of values. For example, the domain of age field is 0 to 100. We can say that the value of age with that value of age can be less than 0. So there is no person whose age is negative. So domain of that particular field is, domain is the set of all possible values that can be applied in that particular field, that can be placed in that particular field. So age is a domain. The domain of age field is from 0 to 1. Domain of name field is all the possible sequence of characters. That is the domain of name field. So we cannot think that a name can be numeric value. So we cannot say that 1 2 3 is the name of some person. So but we can say that ABC is the name of some person. So domain of name field will be set of sequence of all the characters. It can be string. So that is the domain. I hope it is clear now. Sagar, is it clear? Okay. So condition is that domain should also be same, because sometimes we can write the same column name but the values may be different. So the column name xyz, value may be integer type, column name again xyz, but values may be of character type. So here column names are same xyz, but the domain is not same. So they are not union compatible. To be union compatible, domain as well as name should be same, and they should have same number of column. Only then union operation can be applied on the tables. Otherwise union operation cannot be applied on the table. So relation, to understand the union operation, we are considering two relation R and S. So relation R has two field A and B. Relation S has also two field A and B. Alpha 1, alpha 2, beta 1. These are the values of R. Alpha 2 and beta 3. These are the values of S. And these are two relation which are union compatible because they have same number of column, they have same column name, and their domains are also same. So we can apply the set operation. So first of all, let us consider union operation R union S. If we are considering R union S, then union operation as in set operation, what is union? It is a combining the two tables and removing the duplicacy. So alpha 1 is present here. So alpha 1 is also present here. Alpha 2 is present here and here also. So we will include alpha 2, but we will remove the duplicacy. Beta 1 is here, but it is not here. So we will include the beta 1. Beta 3 is here and not in R, but we will include beta 3 also. So union operation means adding all the values and removing the duplicate, retaining all the values and removing the duplicate. That is the union operation. So this is the mathematical notation also. R union S, which is defined as R union S is equal to T. T stands for tuple here, such that this bar symbol is read as such that. So it is read as T. R union S is a tuple T such that tuple belongs to R or tuple belongs to S. For R union S to be valid, RS must have the same arity and the attribute domain must be compatible. So example, second column of R deal with the same type of values as does the second column of S. So that's why they are union compatible. So I hope it is clear now what is R union S. It is all the tuple where the tuple belongs to R or tuple belongs to S. So tuple here means row. So we are including all the rows in the result where the row belongs to first table or a row belongs to second table. And in this way we are removing the duplicacy. Then second is intersection. So intersection means we are retaining only the common values and removing all other values. So R intersection X, because alpha 1 is not present in S, so we will remove it. Alpha 2 is present in S also, so we will include alpha 2. Beta 1 is not present in S, so we will remove it. Beta 3 is not present in R, so we will also remove it. So we will have only single row in the result of R intersection S, because intersection operation will retain only the common rows. So Similarly, R minus S. So R minus S, from R, we will subtract the S. We will remove the values which are available in S table also. So alpha 1 is not available in S, so it will not be subtracted, so it will be retained. Alpha 2, it is available in S, so this alpha 2 will be subtracted with each other, and we will not retain this particular row in our result. Then beta 1, here is no beta 1, so we can retain this particular row also. Now beta 3 will not be included into the result because it is a row from S table and it is not from R. So we are subtracting R from S. So result, if we subtract S from R, what will be the result? What will be the result? Yes, it is beta 3. Beta 3 only, because we are subtracting S from, we are subtracting R from S. So alpha 1 वहां पे नहीं है, so we cannot subtract it. Alpha 2 is subtracted, beta 3 नहीं है, तो beta 3 will remain only. So that means R minus S is not equal to S minus R. So one thing you must understand, R minus S is not equal to S minus R, but R union S is equal to S union R. R intersection S is equal to S intersection R. So that is possible, but R minus S is not equal to S minus R. I hope you you got this particular idea. So notation R minus S, this is defined as tuple T such that T belongs to R, and it is now AND operation, not OR operation. So AND operation, and T not belongs to S. See, so set difference must be taken between the compatible relation. R and S must have the same number of arity, and attribute domains of R and S must be compatible. So there must be a union compatible, only then this operation can be performed. Then we have Cartesian product that we have already discussed in a relational model also, A cross B. So we concatenate every row of A with every row of B in the Cartesian product. What we do if A and B have same field name in common. Several choices are there, but we will simply assume that resulting duplicate field name will have suffix 1 and suffix 2. So in this case, if we multiply S1 with R1, S1 with R1. Now Cartesian product is not a pure set theory product. So you can multiply any table with any table. So union compatible, you don't need to check the union compatibility here. So S1 multiply by R1. So if we multiply S1 with R1, you can see what will be the result. The first row of S1 will be multiplied by the first row of R1. Again, first row of S1 will be multiplied by second row of R1. Then second row of S1 multiplied by first row, second row. Then third row multiplied by first row, second row. Then fourth row multiplied by first row, second row, and so on. So S1 multiply by R1, as the definition say, it concatenates every row of A with every row of B. We have to concatenate every row of A with every row of B. So what will be the total number of columns in this case? What will be the total number of columns? If table 1 contains m columns, table 2 contains n columns, then what will be the resulting table, number of columns in the resulting table? Number of columns. I am talking about number of columns. So I am getting answer m multiplied by n. That is wrong. So if my first table contains 3 columns, second table contains 4 columns, and answer is not 12 columns. As you can see in this resulting table, (48). Who is writing 48? 3, again wrong. 64, how come? You are not getting how the Cartesian product is working. You are not getting how the Cartesian product is working. So again listen, we have to concatenate every row of A with every row of B. Concatenation means, what do you mean by concatenation? Add करना है, to combine. Very good. So if we combine every row of A with every row of B, then what will be the number of columns? If A contains 4 columns, B contains 3 columns, what will be the resulting number of columns? 12. How? It is 7. 4 plus 3. 4 columns of column A, 3 columns of column B. We are concatenating them. And we are creating a table which contains 7 columns. So if first column contains M, first table contains M column, second table contains N column, then the resulting table will contain M plus N column. That is the formula. M plus N. Got my point? And what will be the number of rows? What will be the number of rows? 3. Baljit, 3. Why 3 number of rows? Not getting the point of 7 columns. Anupriya. Okay, Riya Gupta says M into N. That is correct answer. First table contains 3 rows. First table, which one, Baljit? Anupriya says that not getting the point of 7 columns. It is very simple, beta. Why you are not getting the point of 7 columns? Because, so see this table. We have to combine every row of column table 1, table S1 with every row of table R1. Now what is table S1? This is table S1 and this is R1. Got my point? So this is S1 and this is R1. Okay. So what we are doing? We are concatenating every row of S1 with every row of R1. As you can see, this is first row of S1, which is concatenated with second row of first row of R1. So what will be the total number of columns? It is again very clear. Total number of columns will be the total number of columns in S1 plus total number of columns in R1. So if S1 contains 4 columns, R1 contains 3 columns, then the total number of columns will be 7. And if S1 contains M column, R1 contains N column, then the total number of columns will be M plus N. Got my point? Okay. Now coming to total number of rows. What will be the total number of rows? If original table, first table contains M rows and second table contains N rows, then what will be the total number of rows? Sagar is getting 64 values. I don't know how. Sagar, how you are getting 64? So now I think everybody is writing M into N. So total number of rows will be number of rows in S1 multiplied by number of rows in R1. So that is M into N. For this table, it is 64. How? In S1, how many rows are there? Let us go back. Have you noted that? In S1, we have 4 rows and in R1, we have 2 rows. So in S1, we have 4 rows. 4 multiplied by 2, total 8 rows will be there in this particular, if we multiply S1 with R1. Okay. Sagar, got my point? Okay. Then we have Cartesian products. Now, when we multiply two different tables, sometimes we have two columns having the same name. For example, here SID is also name of column in S1 and SID is also name of column in S2. So SID is available in both the tables, and when we concatenate the columns, we have to rename them. So we will write SID.1 for first table and SID.2 for second table. So this table, so we have to rename so that name should not clash with each other. Okay. Then there is a theta join. Theta join, which is basically a derived operator, it is, the symbol is called bow tie. It is called BOW, bow tie. So it is a kind of tie that male generally wears in parties. So bow tie. So it is called bow tie symbol. So this symbol is for theta join. So this is a symbol for theta join, and it is a derived operator. Why it is derived operator? It is basically selection operation on Cartesian product. So if we multiply R1 and R2 and apply some selection operation on the resulting table, then we will get a new table. That table is called theta join. That is called theta join. So for example, S1, it is, this particular operation is written as R1 bow tie C R2. So this C will be written here, sigma and Cartesian product. Both are combined to make this particular symbol. So bow tie symbol. So R1 theta join R2. So this is read as R1 theta join R2 on condition C. So how we read it? We call it R1 theta join R2 on condition C. So condition can be written in the same way as we have earlier discussed, that SID 1 is less than equal to SID 2. So this is the condition. So whatever the Cartesian product, from the result, if we remove all those rows which are not satisfying this condition, the resulting table is called as a table of theta join. So here you can see SID1 is less than SID2. So SID1 is less than SID2, condition true है. SID1 is less than SID2, condition false है. So we will remove this row. Again, condition true, condition false. So we will also remove this particular row from the result. So in this way, we will get this particular table. So here SID1 is always less than equal to SID2, as you can compare these values with these values. So this is theta join. I hope it is clear. I hope it is clear. What will be the total number of columns in this case? Total number of columns in case of theta join. What will be the total number of columns in case of theta join? Yes, Ria, what is your doubt? What will be the total number of columns? Yes, we have one answer from Anupriya. It is m plus n. Explaining that table again. Which one? Theta join wala? Okay, Sagar Sharma again writes 7. Keep in mind when you are talking about some concept, always try to give answer in a generalized form. So 7 is not a generalized form, it is a specific case. So when we are taking some example, we can say that only first table contains 4 rows, second table contains 3 rows, then after combining there are 7 rows. But it is not the case always. So in general, we say that it is m rows in first table, n rows in second table, then the result will be m plus n. Okay, it is same as the Cartesian product. So theta join is a Cartesian product, apply some condition on the Cartesian product. So what is theta join? It is just the same as Cartesian product with condition applied on it. So condition can be applied using sigma operator. So sigma operation that we have already covered. When we apply sigma operation, we have to specify some condition. On these condition, we want to filter our rows. So same thing, just the change of notation. Instead of writing sigma and Cartesian product, we write bow tie operator. We write a new symbol that is called bow tie, and bow tie and C condition will remain there. So we are filtering R1 cross product R2 based upon some condition. So whatever the result will be, that will be our theta join. That will be called as theta join. And what will be the number of rows in this particular table after applying theta join? What will be the number of rows? Just very good. Chances are that condition will not satisfy any row and we may get 0 result, 0 row, or maximum all the rows can be selected. That means m into n, whatever the Cartesian product, the same number of rows can be come into theta join also. So that is the case. So now you get the point. Then coming to next, my system got hanged. Okay. The result schema is the same as for schema is the same as for a cross product. Sometimes this operation is called conditional join. This is also known as conditional join, and most commonly condition is an equality. So SID1 equal to SID2. So condition can be anything. It can be less than, more than, less than. We have 6 type of condition, but the most commonly used condition is equality condition, where we are comparing the table based upon the equal sign. So column 1 is equal to column 2. So this is called equijoin. If this kind of operation is there, then we call it as a equijoin. So equijoin is a special case of theta join. Theta join is a special case of cross product. Equijoin is a special case of theta join, where the condition is equality of field name. So we write only SID. We don't write the condition. We just write the field name on which we want to make the condition equal. So SID, in this case S1, both I, SID R1. So we are just selecting those rows where SID of first table is equal to SID of second table. And in the similar way, we have a natural join, which is an equijoin on all the common field where the duplicate fields are removed. So this is again more specific case of equijoin, where because we can see SID in table 1 and SID in table 2, both the SID are containing the same value. Same value means we can remove at least one column from this particular table. And if we remove this particular table, then the result is called natural join. So we have theta join, where we can compare the table, we can filter the table on any kind of condition. Special case, which is equijoin, when the condition is of equal operator. If the condition is of equal operator, then it is called equijoin. And in case of equijoin, the two column which are being compared, both column will have the same value because it is equijoin. Because both have the same value, we can remove one column. And if we remove one column, then it is called natural join. So natural join is a join which is simply written as A bow tie B. A bow tie B means it is a natural join, means we are removing the duplicate field and we are removing the duplicate column, and we are getting only those fields which are based upon equal operator. We note that common field appears only once in the resulting table, and this operator appears very frequently in real life query. Actual queries, in all of the actual queries, natural join is most frequently used. Then there is outer join and there is inner join. Suppose we join R and S, a tuple R that has no tuple of S with which it is joined, it is called dangling. And outer join preserve the dangling tuple by padding them with a special null symbol. So this is example. Example will clear more outer join and inner join. So here we have two tables, A and B are the column name, B and C are the column name. One is S table, another one is R table. So when we outer join, we perform the outer join operation 1 and 2. For 1 and 2, because 2 is present here and here also, so we will combine this row. 1, we will get 1, 2, 3. But 5 is not present here. So here 4 and 5, this row is called dangling row. In the similar way, 6 and 7 is also called dangling row, because for 6 there is no value in table R. So if we perform outer join, we are preserving the dangling rows by putting the null value at their another location. So if 4, 5 is to be included, then for the column C, we will put the null value. And if 6, 7 is to be included, then for column A, we have to put the null value. So this is how you can perform the outer join. Outer join preserve all the rows in the table, in both the tables, and putting the null values where it is not where it is dangling, you can say dangling rows. So dangling rows are the rows for which we have no row in the corresponding table. So for that kind of table, we can perform the outer join also. So I think that is clear to all of you. That much is sufficient algebra for you people. One thing to be clear, that algebra is not in your syllabus right now. So in this particular semester, so but it is very important concept, and generally in the exam of UGC, NET exam, it is a lot of questions are based upon relational algebra. So you must understand the relational algebra, and also your second part, that is your you can say which one apna, SQL queries. So those part is also important that can be understood easily if you know the algebra. Algebra is base of all the queries. So you must understand the algebraic operation. So we have select operation, project operation, renaming operation, union operation, which include intersection, subtraction, and union, and they can be applied only union compatible tables. And apart from that, we have cross product and join operation. Cross product will combine every row with every row of another table, and theta join, we have theta join, equijoin, and natural join. Theta join means we are combining on any condition. Equijoin means we are combining upon equal condition, and natural join means we are combining upon equal condition with the duplicate column removed. And beside that, we have outer join where we are taking care of dangling rows. Dangling rows are the rows for which we have no corresponding row in the another table. So we can also include dangling rows in the result by putting the null value at the corresponding location.